Welcome to Universal Man, where we turn your flight into fight so that you can master yourself, conquer your goals, and live on the front line of your life. My name is Mark Weppett, and I am here to help you sharpen your masculine edge so that you can cut through that resistance that's holding you back from being a man that you admire. And that's what we want, right? You want to be a man that you admire. I think that's the key to being happy, right? If you're someone that you like, well, that's half of life figured out. But that's difficult because a big question that you have to confront in that process is, what are you going to do with your life? What are you actually going to direct your energy? Where are you going to pursue mastery? All that kind of stuff. And this is something that I struggled with a lot, especially when I was younger. I got a nice picture now, but that's still even up for grabs at a lot of times. And so what I want to do in this video is offer you 5 tips specifically on how to figure out what you should be doing with your life. So the modern man in some ways has it great, and in some ways has it kind of tough. Back in the past, you pretty much did what your father did. Okay. It's like, your path in life was pretty much set for you. Okay. And, there's some upside in that you didn't need to figure it out, but the downside was, what if you didn't want to do that? Right. Now, the modern man, he can do pretty much anything. There's so many options available to him, but he's got to figure it out. He's got to figure out which way to go. And that decision-making process is not an easy one. And in fact, that's something that I really struggled with. Like, believe it or not, I had no idea that someday people would be paying me to tell them and help them not play with their penis. Okay. It's like, that was not one of the options that they gave me back in 3rd grade when they asked you, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? So how did I go from, not knowing anything to having this very kind of specific and unique sort of niche? Well, it wasn't easy, but I did learn a lot in that process of trying to discern my path. And that's really what I want to share with you guys today. So step number 1, give yourself permission to figure things out. This is something I absolutely failed to do. I was constantly trying to jump to the end. I was trying to find my perfect pie in the sky vocation that was like as fun as video games and as stimulating as sex. And I was like, yeah, I got to find that thing, and that's what I'm going to be doing with my life because, hey, I got one life and I'm going to make it perfect. And this drove me crazy because I kept trying to just jump on it. I would go from being like, oh, I'm going to be a brain surgeon to I'm going to be an FBI agent to, I'm going to be I went to school for computer science. And, that didn't quite fit either. So I was just constantly going, driving myself nuts, trying to figure it out. And the big issue was that I had not yet learned at that point how to be purposefully undecided. There are going to be some things in life, some decisions that take a while, that you're not going to have the whole thing figured out instantaneously. It's going to be kind of this state of flux where you're going to have to entertain a bunch of different ideas, hold a bunch of different uncertainty until you can kind of start sifting through it. And this can take a while, and you got to give yourself permission to do it, because if you're judging yourself while you're in this state of figuring out, you're saying, oh, this sucks. I need to figure it out yesterday. I can't keep playing around with different options. Well, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. You're just going to make that process way harder than it needs to be. So step number 1, give yourself permission to figure things out. Give yourself permission to be in a state of purposefully undecided. Okay, that's first step. Second step is you need to focus more on problems that you care about than just finding activities that you enjoy. Okay, enjoyment of activities is important, right? But I think that is not the best way to try and find your path, especially for a career. Okay, it can factor into it, but you can't get too locked onto, well, what do I think's fun? What do I want to do? What's enjoyable to me? Because let me give you an example with me. All right, I never thought I was going to do YouTube videos. In fact, I don't particularly love the act of making YouTube videos. I don't necessarily like editing and setting up the camera and doing all that kind of stuff. But I had a problem that I really gave a crap about. And the problem was guys being hooked on porn. And I cared about it because I was hooked on porn, and it really screwed up my life big time. And when I started caring about that and all right, how can I solve this problem? All of a sudden, other things that I would never have considered just simply became the right move. And I was able to do them happily. I'm happy to make YouTube videos because it's the right move for me solving that problem. And so, this is how you find satisfaction in things that maybe are not necessarily your most favorite thing, okay? And when you devote yourself to solving certain kinds of problems, then there's going to be all kinds of stuff that you may not absolutely love, but you're totally willing to do, and perhaps can even be thoroughly enjoy, like you can thoroughly enjoy them and be passionate about them because they're serving an end that you really care about. So it's like there are all kinds of things that are tied up into me trying to be a coach, help people quit porn, help, men develop themselves, and all that kind of stuff that there are many aspects of it that, I'm pursuing mastery in that maybe on their own are not as interesting to me, but they are interesting because they serve a higher purpose. Now, let's be a little bit clear. Not everybody's going to have a large vocational problem that they care about, okay? So me having this big thing is like, I want to help men, live on the front line of their life. All right. That's a big kind of vocational thing. And not everybody's going to have that. Sometimes the problems that you care about are a little closer to home. Maybe you care about being an incredibly good father. Maybe you care about having a solid income with enough flexibility that allows you to be that kind of father or husband or friend or whatever that you want to be. Okay, and there's plenty of people out there like that, and they don't necessarily have some big problem that they give a crap about like out in the world. So maybe they work at the widget factory, and the widget factory gives them good hours, gives them decent enough pay. Yeah, they're not crazy about widgets, but they are willing to do it, and they like doing it enough because it solves the other problems in their life that they do care about. So you got to figure out what kind of person you are. Do you need to have this big aspirational vocational career in order to be happy? Or do you just have other things that you need to solve? Are there other problems that matter to you? Maybe you've got, a sick family member that, you really want to care for properly. And so that's where you're going to have your career path, focused on supporting that aspect, all right? And so this requires you to take some inventory of your life and figure out what problems do you really give a crap about, and then start choosing your path based upon what's going to provide solutions to those problems. So if step 2 is figure out the problems that you care about, step 3 is then do things. You got to take action. You can't just, sit in that stage of, all right, well, I've given myself permission to be undecided and I found the problems I care about, and then do nothing. You have to do something. You have to start making movement, because you need to have experiences in order to provide yourself with more information. It's like if you don't try stuff out, then you're not going to know whether this path is right or this path is wrong. All right. Like, I've tried a few different things with coaching and, my own business and that kind of stuff. And each time I did something, each time I made some movement, I learned more. And that learning, those experiences, they informed, the path that I was going to take. And so this is very important. Get out there and move and do stuff. Sometimes it means you just have to do research. Okay. That might be one thing you do. Another thing might be, hey, I gotta make this shift. I gotta go out here and try this thing. I gotta put myself in these kinds of, uncomfortable situations so that I can learn. I can see what it feels like and see how I respond to it. And this leads into the 4th step. So the 3rd step's do things. The 4th step is give it a solid effort. Okay, you have to really go hard in the things that you do. So like if you're maybe curious about YouTube, you think maybe you want to be a YouTuber or something like that, don't just do 1 video or 2 videos or 3 videos and call it quits. Do like 10 or better 20 or 30. And then once you get that amount, once you work through that adaptation period of, hey, I've kind of gotten comfortable with this, I know what it feels like, then you can really evaluate it. Because if your evaluation of the activity is limited to just that immediate piece where you're really still adapting, then you're never really going to build a accurate understanding of what you think of that thing. And I see this all the time with people trying to create habit changes or stuff like that. Like, when you first start going to the gym, it sucks. It's super awkward, especially if you never worked out. You don't know what you're doing. Everyone in there is like in better shape than you, and you feel super uncomfortable and all that kind of stuff. And if you stuck with it a little while, you would realize, oh wow, I get more comfortable. If you pull out back when things were super uncomfortable, well, then you never really formed a true understanding of what the gym could be for you and how enjoyable it could be. So give things a solid try. So 4th tip is to give things a solid effort, but this leads us to the 5th. And the 5th is change direction when you know you're going in the wrong way. Okay. And so it's like, just because you've committed to something and you've given it a solid effort, don't just keep sticking with it because you chose it. All right. Because if you're getting the feedback in that certainty, it's like, yeah, this isn't what I want. Well, then don't keep going that way. All right. There's something to be said for consistency and follow through. And that's why I said give things a solid effort. But once you're clear that this is actually moving you backward or moving you somewhere you don't want to go, then once you have that clarity, continuing down that path is just wasting time. It's just wasting energy. And so you got to start the process over again. So it's like, this is a process, right? So once you identify, hey, this isn't quite where I want to go, well, then you start you go back to the first step. You give yourself permission to not know and to figure things out. And then, you reevaluate the problems you care about, because chances are, since you did something, you tried something, you got a better perception of what kind of problems you do care about and how you might want to go about solving them. And then you're going to do more things and give more things a solid effort. And so what this ultimately amounts to is a zigzag approach, which I think is the most accurate and realistic way in which you're going to figure out your path. It's like you go from the state of, I don't know, but I care about this. And so I'm going to go I'm going to go do some stuff, and I'm going to give it a solid effort over here. And then you keep going, gathering information. You're like, oh, this isn't the right direction, but I learned something, so I'm going to adjust my approach and go this way, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to stop and reevaluate, and you go back and forth, and you zigzag, all right? And so for me, I figured out, I started like just trying to be a general life coach. That didn't work so well. It was, but I learned a lot. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to be this porn recovery coach. I started the Sacred Sexuality Project. I went pretty far with that, and that got good. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to team up with Alexander from NoFap, and we're going to start NoFap Academy. And then we went down that direction. And then I was like, all right, you know what? The porn stuff's important, but that's not my only focus. I need to expand it. I'm going to create Universal Man. And then so now I'm going with that. And even in that, I'm constantly trying new things. I tried out live streaming. I've got this Patreon. Now I'm trying, batching all my videos, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff planned. So it's just like, even once you have a general direction, the zigzag doesn't stop. And honestly, that's what keeps things exciting. If you allow yourself to continue to evolve and continue to grow and continue to change direction, then you're just going to find yourself embedded, more and more firmly onto a path of higher meaning and greater fulfillment. The thing that people get stuck on is that they stop. They want to just be done. They just want to be like, I've found my path, and I can just, pedal with my eyes closed forward, and I'm just going to end up in the promised land. And I think that's a bad way to go about it, because, you close your eyes and you just try to force something that's not really working for you. Well, you're going to eventually fall off a cliff, or you're going to end up somewhere that you don't actually want to go. So really here, it's a commitment to perpetual evolution. And I've talked a lot about learning how to evolve and cyclical growth and all that kind of stuff in this channel, because I think it's so important. You need to be willing to engage in this constant cycle of, trial, death, rebirth, and just keep spinning that wheel of evolution, and keep growing and moving forward. And it's uncomfortable, but hey, this is what, if we're going to tie it back to my, mindset video about, ego and that kind of stuff, this is what leads to that epic and insightful and meaningful journey. All right. This is how you tell a good story in your life, is by letting stuff move. You don't want your life to be boring and like not moving, especially if it's not moving in a way that you don't like it. All right. There's nothing wrong with stability. Sometimes people are going to have stretches in their life where things are pretty locked in, and that's great. But don't kid yourself into thinking that that's permanent. Okay, I'm sorry. Who knows what's going to come out of left field and mess up your whole system. You got to be willing to adapt and grow. So that's what I have for you guys today. Let me know what you're going to be doing. What stage in this process are you at? Do you need to maybe accept that you don't know and that you're trying to figure it out? Do you maybe need to start taking some action and doing some stuff? Do you maybe need to change direction? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this valuable and insightful. All right, that's it. Stay sharp. See you in the next one.